Whilst the light is still nice today, I thought we would do a little bit of a declutter, but we're not going to do a kind of walking around the house declutter today. I fancied doing a little bit of a simple video, and it actually takes up a very small amount of space, even though I think there are around 9 or 10 items. So let's discuss what I am decluttering today. Now, for those of you who, I'll balance it there so you can all see. So for those of you who, I think I need to prop this up actually. Let me get something. Now, before I get started, if you see a little pigeon's head bobbing up and down there, it's because Pedro and Penelope, my two pigeons that I've kind of adopted, that they just sort of sit on the windowsill and I feed them seeds sometimes. They just like to watch me sometimes while I'm editing. I'll insert a clip of what they were doing earlier today. So don't be alarmed if you see some little pigeons playing peekaboo. Now let's get on with the declutter. So first of all, what's been going on a lot with me lately is I have been going on this huge decluttering spree of moving more into essentialism from minimalism and trying to balance that little bit still of aestheticism. So what I'm doing as well to do with that is always thinking about how practical things are. Now, I had lots of these little jars inside another tub, inside the cupboard. And originally I put the very sort of finely, desiccated things in these jars for the reason of not spilling. But then I realised that if I had them inside a larger tub, that didn't really matter because the tub itself is cleanable. So what I'm now thinking more practically is they don't need to be in them. So guys, that has gone out of date, and that's another thing about putting things in jars. Sometimes you forget the date unless you obviously write it on it or chalk pen it on or something, but I've had that a long time. It's out of date, so it is going to get thrown out and washed out. Same with the suet. Out of date, it's going to get thrown out, washed out, and I will be decluttering the jars. The sultanas aren't out of date. We use them a lot to make scones and things, so I will use them in something maybe like a Waldorf salad before the end of the day, and that will be getting washed out as well. And these things, we had them on the kitchen sink for quite a while. In principle, they work really good as a sort of tidy to put your wire wool in and things, or your coconut scrubber, whatever it is that you use to wash your pots. But in our sink, bacteria was sort of getting stuck a little bit behind them, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to clean behind them, and I decided I would just rather put the scrubber, when not in use, in the bottom of the sink or just inside the other cupboard in like a little tiny little box with all the other cleaning things, because it didn't feel sanitary how there was like bacteria gathering around the sides that I couldn't sort of get to. So they're going. And the bin itself, although there's two things in that I've saved till last that I want to talk about. The bin itself, we had it in the back of our actual bin cupboard, which kept the other bin bags inside and a few extra like coconut scrubbers and things. It was really not essential. In fact, it annoyed me more than just having the things like the roll of biodegradable bin bags and things at the back just loose, because with it being round, it sort of limited how I could put things in the cupboard. That's a whole other story. But this itself, it's going. I'll give it to the charity shop. Now, the last thing is something that I've spoken about on my Patreon, and I'm actually quite embarrassed to admit this, but it shows that we can't always be, we can't ever actually be perfect minimalists, and we can only do what we really think is right at the time, even when we think we've been very intentional about it. So about a month ago, I had this burning desire to only have one cup, because it was an area that I knew I couldn't be extremely minimal, and I really wanted to be able to just have this cup, not have like a takeout cup, an in-house cup, a glass. I wanted this to, be able to be used for everything. And after a month of trying it, because I have had a previous injury to my wrist, I didn't actually think about, as absurd as this is, how hard it would be to constantly do that. And actually, when we have a handle on a cup, it's much easier than doing this motion because it's something to do with that part of the wrist there. So I actually started getting wrist strain and probably all the work I do on the computer combined. So basically, I reintroduced a cup. And then this was sitting in the cupboard and getting used, not even really out of the house, but just for like water and things like that. And then I realised that I really missed having a glass for iced coffees. So we reintroduced a glass each, me and my partner. So we had 2 cups, 2 glasses. So then I also realised that I have my water drinking bottle that can keep things hot or cold. But that meant if I can keep things hot in it, why do I even need this? Because what I also became more and more aware of was that because it was ceramic, I was actually scared to take it out of the house for fear of breaking it. It's not like you could just put it in your bag because it's ceramic, and because it's not, airtight sealable either, it would definitely leak in your bag, whereas the bottle doesn't. So I actually thought, if it was going to be your cup / glass / takeout cup and you're always going to carry it around like that, then you probably could do it. But I just began to realise more and more that it wasn't practical for my lifestyle and how I actually do things, because I'm more likely to put my cup away or my little flask bottle away, walk up to the train station, get on the train and get it out. I don't really want to carry it around like that. If I was going to have it immediately, I probably would treat myself to like a takeout coffee. So I am ashamed to say that it has taken me 2 times to learn this lesson, because right at the beginning of my channel I actually had a keep cup, and I think back, I came to the same conclusion the first time around, but I started justifying and thinking that I hadn't really given it a full go, a full chance the first time around, and that is just it's not true. I obviously did, and I've had to do it again, so I don't want to do this again. What I need to now accept that I've learned on my minimalist journey is, even though I can be many levels of extreme in other areas, one area that I cannot be an extreme minimalist, and I simply am a minimalist, is with my cups. I want a cup with a handle for hot drinks. I want a glass for iced coffees, cold drinks, water, and then I have my takeout bottle to go out of the house. I'm accepting it. Sometimes part of our minimalist journey is about acceptance of what we really do obviously value, especially when we have to learn it a second time. So that is everything today. I hope you have enjoyed this little declutter, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.